So it's finally time for the second video on love relationships on the spiritual path. This time men on the spiritual path in love relationships. Hello, this is Chris speaking. The channel Shores of Infinity, your channel on spiritual matters in a non-bullshit way. And of course love relationships can be an important topic for most people, if they're on the spiritual path or not. Please watch the first video. Already I explained a lot in the first video about women on the spiritual path in love relationships, because a large part is of course true for both men and women. For example, the first one, you have to be free from your parents, which doesn't mean that you have to cut off relationship with your parents. This can be necessary in very, very, very rare cases. Usually it means that you make your peace with your parents and the way they raised you, your childhood, because they did their best and it might not have been very good, but they did their best in your life and they gave you your life. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. That's the main accomplishment, that they made you, so to say, genetically and brought you into the world. That's enough. They fulfilled their roles as your parents, as your progenitors, and even if they were not very good parents from a raising perspective, yeah, bad luck. It's like this in this life. But there's no point in spending a lot of time and energy on it, dwelling on the past and thinking how horrible it was. Being angry on your parents, angry at your parents, will bind you to them. It will not make you free. Look at it and then let it go. For men, also, it's very important to let go of your mother. To have a good relationship with your mother, but neither to reject her nor to adulate her. If you're adult, you're adult. If you're still doing what your mother says, then you're not adult. If you're still a mama boy, then you're not attractive to real women. Real women want a strong man. And a strong man means, for example, that you're not dependent on your mother. And a strong man means also, for example, that you have the courage to flirt, the courage to make the first step in flirting. A lot of men are really afraid of flirting, or even afraid of women. That cannot be. You have to look into it why that is. Usually has to do something with your mother. The second thing is, what kind of women are attractive to you? We always have different ways of what we find attractive mentally, emotionally, physically. Yeah? The physical attractiveness is usually the strongest. This is a genetic thing. Your body tells you who is the perfect partner for making new human beings. But that might not be the perfect partner for having a peaceful relationship, especially not on the spiritual path. These are two very different relationships. One is perfect for making healthy children, offspring, to continue the human race. And the other is to have a peaceful relationship on the spiritual path. This might not be the same partner. Of course, I'm not suggesting that you have two partners at the same time, but just to tell you that sometimes the reason for a relationship is just to make new human beings, and at some point might be the right moment to let go of that partner, not of the children. If you have children, it's your responsibility to raise them in some form or another, or at least to pay something or whatever. It's to neglect or ignore or refute your children is horrible for your children. But you don't have to stay together with a partner with whom it doesn't work. So at some point it might be good to leave the woman but stay in contact with the children. And sometimes it might be good to just stay together. It's a good exercise in non-ego living, to stay together with another person and not to change partners all the time. In many green, hippie, new age spiritual communities, it's en vogue for years now to change partners every few years. That's a bit of a weird development. That's not what being a real man or a real woman is about. Once you wake up, once you realize that you're not your body, not your personality, not your mind, not your emotion, not your instincts, they're part of you, but that's not what makes you you, then it's time to become really adult also. As Gurdjieff has pointed out, most people actually are children in adults' bodies. So it's time to become adult, and part of being adult is also to have a real relationship with responsibility. Most women really like it if you can take responsibility and if you have some form of self-respect and self-confidence. Most people don't have self-confidence and self-respect, men and women. And conversely, for most men and women, to see someone who has self-respect or self-confidence is very attractive. But probably it's more attractive for women to see this in men. It's expected somehow. This might be a mistake, this might be a father figure projection, but still, why not? The trouble is that most people don't have self-respect and self-confidence. If they seem to have it, it's fake. More than 99% of all people who seem to have self-confidence fake it. It's an act, it's a scam. Unfortunately, many women fall for it. That is the reason why so many women are together with assholes. Because those assholes seem to have self-confidence and self-respect in the beginning. And if the nice, real men don't have the courage to flirt with them, well, then sooner or later they will give in to assholes. At least younger, inexperienced women who don't have the feeling for who someone else is. Yeah. Once you have the feeling how assholes and narcissists and antisocial disorder people and so on, how they feel like, you don't say yes anymore. But you have to practice that. Conversely, also, men have to learn how to feel this. You have to feel there are as many female narcissists as men, and there are as many borderliners as there are male borderliners. It's just easier to see in women, but there are also male borderliners. Unfortunately, those people with personality disorders, and they're not few, they're about 10% and rising. They're more and more now because it's kind of celebrated to have a personality disorder celebrated in our modern society. So there are more and more. But usually it's about 10%, and that's 1 in 10. But they're like magnets, they're like lights, attracting the moths. So narcissists and borderliners and so on, they have a very, very intense aura and charisma around them. They really attract people. And it's good, no matter if you're a man or woman, it's good to learn how to feel this out because it's impossible to have a relationship with someone like this: antisocial, histrionic, borderline narcissism. They just have relationships to fulfill their needs, to get their supply. They don't want to have a relationship with you as a person. You're just someone who can fulfill their needs. There are bottomless pits. And this can feel wonderful, especially for saviors. Many men have a savior complex, many women too, and then they want to save the other one. But you can't save a narcissist or a borderliner or a psychopath. You cannot. They should go to a professional psychologist. Same goes for you. If you have some kind of personality disorder, the most common one is codependency, then you should also go to a professional psychologist. You cannot have a healthy relationship if you have codependency, because you will not recognize what happens in your relationship. You will always want to save the day, save the partner, save everyone, and you don't have the courage to leave because you have the fear to stop existing when you leave. Many men decide that relationships are too exhausting for these reasons. And then they say, okay, I'm on a spiritual path, fuck relationships. I don't need them. I just become a monk, celibate, do my thing, and then I can spare me those bickerings and fights and being emotionally overwhelmed. That's the big fear behind it, to be emotionally overwhelmed. Women have practiced emotionality more, so most men don't know what to do with emotions much. But you can practice. Anything can be practiced. So if you practice emotions, then you can also deal with them, and they're not overwhelming anymore. Usually the fear of being overwhelmed by emotions also comes from your childhood. And then to decide not to show or not to have any emotions is just childish. There's a joke, men have emotions as well. Hunger, for example. Of course, hunger is not an emotion, but it's funny. You can practice feeling and having emotions, and then they are not overwhelming anymore. Neither your own nor those of others. If you think you're not emotional, you're wrong. Everyone has emotions. It's just that you decided at some point, you probably forgot about it, that you don't want to feel them anymore. And yes, on the spiritual path, emotions are not important anymore. But only if you can feel them freely. Otherwise, you're not free of emotions. First, you have to learn how to feel them, how to be emotional. Then you can let them go and say, okay, thoughts and emotions, I don't care. But if it's completely subconscious, you cannot let go of emotions. A good way of practicing being emotional is to cry in movies. That's good. That's not too difficult. Just don't suppress it. If it comes up, let it flow. And so what about the self-confidence thing I said earlier? How are you supposed to get more self-confidence? It's the same thing again. Our self-confidence problems usually stem from our childhood. So if you clean up your childhood stuff, probably with some kind of professional help, maybe family constellation, if you find a very good therapist. Most family constellation therapists are crap, but if you find a good one, he or she can help you very quickly. And once you cleaned up your childhood trauma or traumata, then it's much easier to have self-confidence. And then again, once you have it, you can let it go. On the spiritual path, self-confidence is not important anymore. But it's good to have had it first. First, you have to have something before you can let it go. You cannot let something go that you don't have. That's just pretending. That's faking it. That's bypassing it. For women, this new manifestation movement is something where they can practice self-confidence. For men, that's usually not attractive. They have to find another way. One traditional way to practice self-confidence is martial arts for men. That can be faking it too, but if it's a martial art that really has pressure testing, that has sparring, it works. It works for building self-confidence because you know you can take it. You know you can take a punch in the face. Men are, amongst other things, made for war. So we're living in a society that has become more and more female, which is probably a good thing, because for the last 3,000 plus years it has been male dominated, and look where that got us. Lots of wars. For some reason men are just obsessed with wars and weapons and fighting and so on, and okay, that has very, very old origins, hundreds of thousands of years old, maybe 1,000,000 years old. Now through this emancipation and egalitarian movement, which is a good thing, part of spiritual dynamics green in society at large, this fighting part of masculinity has been ridiculed a lot, and now many men think it's not okay to act out your aggressions somehow. Or else they do it on the computer, in computer games. You can act out your aggression in computer games, but that will not build any self-confidence because it's fake. Go to one of dozens, hundreds of different martial arts with or without weapons, or a shooting club or whatever, and see how that goes. But not Taiji or Aikido or so, because most dojos of that kind don't teach you fighting. If they do, it's good. If they don't, it's not good. It has to be a martial art with competition, with real sparring. But that's only one way. There are so many other ways, like diving or sailing or whatever. Something that is a little bit dangerous, but not overly dangerous. Yeah, parachuting is okay. This other stuff with the suits, where you look like a squirrel and just jump down a mountain and hope to survive, and 1 out of 10 people die. No, that's not worth it. So once you have proved to yourself that you have courage, that you can do it, you can let it go. Because the spiritual path, of course, is not about self-confidence. Your personality growth is about self-confidence, but not spirituality. Spirituality is about the growth of your soul, the bringing forth of what Sri Aurobindo called the psychic being. That's the goal. And once the psychic being is there, everything else doesn't matter anymore. I won't talk about sex in this video. I will make a separate video about sex and love relationships and spirituality, because it's a topic of its own. I think it doesn't have much to do with relationships. It seems to have a lot to do with relationships, but it doesn't. Sex is mostly procreation. If you accept this or not, doesn't matter. It is mostly about procreation. We're just usually too dumb to realize that, because we are mammals. Okay, that's enough. Apart from that, what is also important for men on the spiritual path in love relationships is you need a partner who's also spiritual. You need a partner with whom you can share what's going on in you. For women, that's usually easier to share what's going on inside, in words. They might not be able to put it into good words, but it's the act of sharing is usually easier for women. But for men, they usually do a lot in their head silently without talking to anyone. You have to change that. Find someone with whom you can share what's going on in you. Either your girlfriend or your wife, or if you don't have someone like that, then a good friend. Or me, for example. You can write emails to me recounting what the heck is happening here. Put it into words. Start practicing to share stuff. And don't just do everything silently in your mind. And the ideal form is, of course, to share it with a partner who is also going through similar things. And they will be similar, not the same. So don't try to be a teacher to your partner. Your partner will go through other stuff or will go through things in a different order. For some weird reason, the spiritual path is quite individual. There are similarities, but there are also differences. So don't be a teacher, don't be a know-it-all, don't be a boss, be a partner. That's actually something I said in the previous video for women. Relationship should be on eye level. No one has the say or the last word. Then it's not a relationship fit for spirituality. Should be on eye level, and everyone involved should have the confidence, the security that it's okay to say everything, to be totally honest. Honesty is very, very important, and part of honesty is also to speak up, to voice what's going on. A good way to learn how to practice this is to read Brad Blanton's Radical Honesty. I also made a video about that. Radical Honesty by Brad Blanton is really good. A real adult man will find a real adult woman as a partner, and the other way around too. A real adult woman will find a real adult man as a partner. But if you are still a child inside, you cannot. Your partner is not your father or your son or your mother or your daughter. It's your partner. If you're playing subconscious or half-conscious projection games, the relationship cannot work. And for men, it's very important to find courage. So you can ask yourself with your partner, would I sacrifice my own life to protect this woman? If yes, good indicator. If no, leave that woman. Either you're not ready or she's not the right one. Same with, would I want to have children with this woman? Same. If yes, okay. If no, leave this woman. Either you're not in the right space right now or she's not the one. And with the one, I don't mean your soulmate. There is no such a thing as soulmate. There are always several potential partners in this world of 8 or 9 billion people. Cannot be just one. The last thing about relationships of men and women from a men's point of view is the talking, the complaining and the bickering. Where does that come from? Many men complain about their women, their girlfriends or wives, complaining and bickering all the time. Why does she do that? Because she doesn't feel heard, listened to, and respected. Yeah? If a woman has the impression that you don't listen to her, that you don't hear what she says, then she has the feeling that you don't respect her, and if she has the feeling that you don't respect her, she starts complaining and bickering, but not about that, usually about other things. So no matter what she's complaining about, it's always that she doesn't feel listened to, that she doesn't feel respected. So the way to stop the bickering and the complaining is to listen to her, or just to ask her what she needs, what she means. If you don't understand what she's saying, which is likely, then just ask. Because women often have this free flow association stream of consciousness talk. It's not some structured way of communication. Women are as rational as men. It's not true that women are not rational, but the way they talk is often a stream of consciousness. They say what comes to mind right now, which might be hard to understand, but what men are doing is often they don't say anything. And then this can only be misinterpreted. If you don't say anything, then there's no information at all. At least if it's unstructured stream of consciousness, free association talk, there's some attempt of communication, verbal communication. The trouble is that men tend to hear only the complaining side and then they shut off. They don't listen. They actually don't listen anymore. It's not only that the woman has an impression that he doesn't listen, he does not listen anymore, because it's emotionally dangerous terrain. Or again, projection on the mother, from the mother, that the association, okay, the mother complained and chided and castigated, so now this woman is doing it as well. So you have to be free from your mother. When you can listen to a woman, if you don't understand what the heck she's saying, ask. Go into communication, verbal communication. What do you mean? What is it you need? Don't just stop listening, it will make it worse. To most women, not being listened to is one of the worst insults. And if you think about it, it is an insult. Yeah? It's a kind of ignoring and pretending that everything is okay. But obviously she doesn't think that everything is okay. But the complaints are usually not about the thing she's complaining about, but about something deeper. So don't take it literally. And these programs about men not listening and women not saying clearly what they want, they can even go on after awakening and enlightenment, because they're programs. Even if you're on the spiritual path and if your female partner is on the spiritual path, personality programs still go on until a certain point. Once you're beyond Hawkins scale 700, maybe not anymore. But then it's anyway not so easy a partnership. It's not so easy to have a relationship with someone who doesn't have a personality anymore. But if you're in a relationship, it's very important to make sure that you don't fall into any routines. Routines are the relationship killer. Don't take anything for granted. Relationships are about love. Your only job is to love the woman of your choice, not to understand her. Because you can never understand another person. It's not a male-female thing. You can never understand another person completely because they're very different. But you can try to listen, of course, and try to understand to some degree. And this is fun. This is suspenseful. To try to play this game of this dual, what's it called? Dyadic cyclone is much more fun than, much more exciting than any game or movie or whatsoever. And this whole idea of emotional pain. On the one hand, many men say, I'm not very emotional. On the other hand, they're super scared of emotional pain. This doesn't go together. Either you're not emotional and you don't care about emotional pain because you don't know it, or you're very emotional and you're just afraid of emotional pain. And emotional pain is only really painful if you're identified with your emotions. Once you're not identified with your emotions and your thoughts anymore, there can be no emotional pain. So what if some relationship hasn't worked in the past, or this one isn't working right now? Well, this is just an indicator that either you have to improve something in yourself or you have to leave the relationship. Don't try to fix someone else. You can only fix yourself if at all. If it doesn't work, then just leave the relationship. But of course, you can't leave your children if you have any. So you have a lifelong responsibility if you have any children. And there will be also, to the mother of your children, a lifelong relationship of some kind, of parents, not necessarily of love relationship partners, but the parenting will not stop. And for some reason, the modern man often is afraid of this role of being a parent. But parenting is cool. It's a lot of fun. It's also exhausting, but it's a lot of fun, and it makes you adult. It helps you make you an adult person. The video is much too long already. I'll stop it here. There will be another video about sex and love relationship and spirituality. But so far, this is, I guess, enough input for men. The summary being, be as courageous as possible. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all my patrons, and thank you for subscribing as a Patreon. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and see you soon.